What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today. As promised, I said I would put out my top 10 NBA players going into the 2023-2024 season. And we are just a couple of days away from the start. So here are my top 10 players going into the NBA season. And then after I list them from 10 all the way down to the number one spot, I will throw out some players that have potential to break that top 10 mold by the end of the regular season. All right, let's get it started. Now, bear in mind, this is currently who I believe are top 10 players. This isn't looking at, legacy and how good they've been over the last 10 years, over the last 5 years, over the last 15 years. This is in the current state. Where is this player? All right. Even if there's a player who's on a losing team or didn't make the playoffs, that doesn't mean that they still can't be a top 10 player. As far as injuries, I take those a little bit into consideration, but I'm giving these players more or less a full bit of health or something close to it going into this season. Assuming that we know some players are generally more injury prone and have problems, chronic problems, but I do consider that, but it's not the end all be all, just like being on a losing team isn't the end all be all. But I do take that into consideration when I'm considering impact and the ability to carry a team. All right. Y'all are going to roast me for this. And after seeing who my number 10 player is, you probably won't want to watch any more of this video and say this guy's a clown, this guy's an idiot. At number 10, I have Kawhi Leonard, the Claw. Yes, like I said, yes, I'm aware of Kawhi Leonard's injury history. I'm aware of the load management aspect. But hear me out. Kawhi Leonard is coming off a season where he played, I think, shy of 60 games, if I'm not mistaken. 23.8 points on 51% shooting, 6.5 rebounds, 3.9 assists. The numbers don't jump out at you. So if you remember in the 2021 playoffs, he was looking like arguably the best player in the league. Him and Kevin Durant. He tore his ACL. He missed the entire 2021-22 season. Then came back last season for the 2022-2023 NBA season, and he played good, but he was working himself into shape, making sure the knee was being properly taken care of, making sure it was getting the treatment it needed, not trying to overdo it, not trying to overextend himself and possibly re-injure that ACL. So, with that being said, the numbers aren't going to jump out at you. He wasn't carrying a large load. He was on a minutes restriction and a game restriction. But in the moments when Kawhi Leonard did play heavy minutes or needed to shoulder the load, there was no misstep in his performance. The dude would consistently look like the greatest player in the NBA, or one of the top players in the NBA, when he needed to be. All right. If you remember, when the playoffs started, Paul George didn't play. He got hurt. Russell Westbrook was now on the team. So it was basically Kawhi Leonard and Russ versus the Phoenix Suns. Again, Kawhi Leonard got hurt in the playoffs. But prior to that injury in the playoffs, small sample size, only 2 games, but I've seen him do this consistently in the playoffs when he does play. He was averaging 34 points per game, damn near 35, 6 rebounds and 6 assists. And they were manhandling, but they were giving the Phoenix Suns all they could handle, including stealing a game from the Phoenix Suns to take home court advantage. And it wasn't looking good for the Phoenix Suns. And then again, Kawhi Leonard gets hurt. Now Russell Westbrook is carrying the team by himself. But Kawhi Leonard, when playing, when given the minutes, when off the load management bill, he is 9 times out of 10 the best player on the floor given any team that they play against. Not quite the defender he used to be, but still a damn good defender. An offensive juggernaut, a mid-range assassin, can kill you from everywhere on the court. Especially has a great post game as well. Can drive to the cup. Lost a little bit of his athleticism with the injuries, but still can get the job done. Kawhi Leonard, folks, number 10. He's too damn good just to put him outside the top 10 for injuries. Now, from what we're hearing is that Ty Lue and the team is on board with no load management this season. So players will be playing as expected and playing their minutes and should be performing up to par. So we'll see how it goes for Kawhi Leonard in this NBA season and see if his body can hold up. But he's too goddamn good to have him outside the top 10. And if he actually plays the entire season and looks more like something closer to prime Kawhi Leonard, he will move up in my rankings. Like when Kawhi Leonard's on top of his game, in my opinion, he's definitely a top 5 player in the NBA. So we'll see how this goes. But because of the load management, because of the extensive injuries, I had to bump him at 10. But he can definitely make his way up if he gets minutes in place. Coming in at number 9, I have Dame Time, now a member of the Milwaukee Bucks, but as we know, spent his entire career in Portland up to this point. Damian Lillard is coming off a pretty good season. Didn't play the full season because of injuries, but Damian Lillard scored 32.2 points per game on 46% shooting, 4.8 rebounds, and 7.3 assists. I was kind of struggling on where I wanted to put Dame. I didn't know if I wanted to leave him outside of my top 10, but the players that were kind of on the outside looking in, I just couldn't put him ahead of Dame, not just yet. And I'm not a huge Damian Lillard fan, but you know what? You got to give credit where credit's due. Dame can hit you from buckets from anywhere. Dame, as we know, is a pretty damn good clutch performer. He's had some serious playoff flameouts and playoff duds that people like to conveniently gloss over or act like didn't happen, but I was watching the games. I know hiding behind some game-winning shots, 1 or 2 game-winning shots in the playoffs, is a bunch of abysmal playoff performances, Dame. People act like those didn't happen. Try to ignore them, but I saw them. But anyway, still a top 10 player in my opinion. I believe his playmaking has gotten better over the last 1 or 2 years. I always thought that was a struggle of him. I didn't think he was much of a playmaker. Could be a better passer. Could be better at improving a team and carrying a team when his jumper's not on or when he's not scoring. So I think he's gotten better from that aspect. Just his impact and presence on the floor still dictating how the team performs, even if his jump shot's not going and he's not scoring. But I think he's gotten better with that in the last 1 or 2 seasons. I don't know exactly how he's going to look playing with the Milwaukee Bucks. I would hope he would be somewhere around 26, 27 points per game. He won't have as much of a scoring load with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton and them boys, Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis. They have a great roster, so he won't have to do that much scoring, but with that being said, he can focus on other parts of his game and how he can contribute to the success of the Milwaukee Bucks. Damian Lillard, number 9. Coming in at number 8 is LeBron James. Yes, I do not believe LeBron James is a top 5 player in the league anymore, but I still do believe LeBron James is a top 10 player in the league as he inches closer and closer and closer to 40 years old. A testament to LeBron James's incredible body, his incredible luck, his ridiculously good bit of health throughout his entire career. Never had a serious injury. and he's still performing. And how the league has changed over the years has also allowed him to still be effective, though not as effective as he used to be. But he can still get his numbers, given that he's still bigger than most players on the floor any given day. So he can still get to the paint with ease and score, even though he's on his decline, and even though his body isn't quite what it used to be, but still damn good. But his size and still his athleticism is good enough to get inside the paint and score. He does rely on his jump shot a little more than he used to, but he has gotten better with his three-point shot. Well, he was pretty damn bad three-point shooter last year in the playoffs, but you have to give it to the guy. His jump shot has improved from when he came into the league and where he's at now. Okay, LeBron James is still the system. He's still going to monopolize the ball until he decides to come off ball more and put the onus on Anthony Davis and play within some kind of system, which he showed shades of that in the playoffs. But I'm pretty sure they're going to go back to LeBron James monopolizing the ball, running the show. So he's going to get his assist numbers. His rebound numbers are going to be there, somewhere between 7 and 8. And his points are going to be there. But LeBron James still a force to be reckoned with on any given night. It's harder for him now to carry a load. It's harder for him to impact the game the way he used to. This is why numbers aren't everything, right? He's had seasons in his past that were inferior statistically on the base numbers to what he's doing now, but he was far more impactful. Let alone the defensive end. He obviously he doesn't play defense anymore. He just doesn't. He picks and chooses when he can play defense. And it's just some of that comes with age and attrition, and he's getting fatigued easier, getting tired the more minutes he plays in a game. So the defensive prowess, the defensive energy isn't always going to be there like it used to be. LeBron James, number 8. Number 7, I got Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum coming off a 30-point per game season, shooting 46% from the field, 8.8 rebounds, and 4.6 assists. I wasn't really sure where I wanted to put Jayson Tatum for a while. I can't deny, Jayson Tatum is a top 10 player. Does he get really weird into the playoffs, especially recently, as far as some erratic and inconsistent performances? For somebody that cherishes and looks up and tries to pattern his game after Kobe and his mentality, this, that, and the third, I've just seen so many mental lapses with this guy, especially last season, playoffs, that I couldn't put Jayson Tatum in the top 5, but he's an excellent talent. He's a damn good scorer, especially in isolation. He can play both ends of the floor, can guard many positions on the basketball court, extremely mobile, good with both hands, operates effectively in the mid-range, good enough from three-point land. Jayson Tatum still has to work on his leadership qualities a bit more. I feel like Jayson Tatum, much like what Damian Lillard used to be years prior, Jayson Tatum has to learn and get better at impacting the game, how to impact the game, how to still make a difference in the game when you're not scoring. For whatever reason, whether your jumper's not going, whether the ball's just not moving your way, whether they're looking for the play, whatever the case may be, I feel like he definitely gets lost in the game when his jump shot isn't going. That's what I feel like I've seen, right? A special player is a player, especially if you call a scorer, where they can impact the game in many different ways. While this guy might be, notoriously known for being a scorer, But what happens when the jumper's not going? Because so it's not always going to be there. Defense is something that can always be there. Offense, not the case. But what do you do then? How do you find ways to impact the game? I have to see more of that from Jayson Tatum. He has to get better with that. And then maybe, if he can cross that road, get to the other side, maybe he could possibly get into my top 5 one day. But for right now, I think 7 is a firm and justified place for Jayson Tatum. Number 6. I went back and forth with this one. I didn't know if I wanted to put this guy at number 5 or number 6. So this one was a struggle for me. But we got Steph Curry, the baby face assassin, even though he got that scruff going on now. But Stephen Curry, coming off a great season into his mid-30s, Steph Curry averaged 29.4 points per game on 49% shooting from the field, 42% shooting from three-point land, dropping 6.1 rebounds and 6.3 assists. Like I said, another solid season. Steph Curry doing Steph Curry things. A lot of what we've seen from him over the last couple years, he's still consistently doing. That jump shot isn't going nowhere anytime soon. So as long as Steph Curry can continue to shoot physically, if there's no injuries, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with as a shooter until he retires, especially in the league that's a lot less physical and emphasizes the three-point shot as a weapon. So for that reason alone, Steph Curry is going to remain relevant as long as his shooting arm and his guide hand and his fingers stay intact, and he can get up and down the court. They'll find ways to get him threes like he's always done, running him off a bunch of screens, down picks, pick and rolls, whatever the case may be, or just pull up from half court type stuff. Like, that's what he does. So I expect the Warriors to have another good season. I expect Steph Curry to lead them into the playoffs. I don't see them getting past the second round, but who knows? I could be wrong. There's been some shifting parts on the team this season. They've gotten rid of some dark clouds hanging over the roster. So we'll see what kind of energy the team comes out with, and we'll see how Steph Curry can lead these guys going into next season. But as for Steph himself, I expect him to still be hovering somewhere around 27 to 30 points per game. I expect his shooting splits to be on par from what we've seen. And, I expect him to get somewhere around 5 rebounds, 5 assists, something like that. But I know a lot of people are much higher on Steph Curry than I am. I know most people would probably have Steph Curry somewhere in their top 5. Some people have him somewhere in their top 3. I can't go there. I could give him 5 at best, but I don't think Steph Curry's top 4 for me. But I can understand the argument for Steph Curry being a top 3 player. Like, I get where you're coming from, but as he's been his whole career, he's not going to give you a whole lot on the defensive end. Coming in at number 5, this one was a struggle for me. Like I said, is Joell Embiid. Joell Embiid, the reigning NBA MVP. I was about to say former, but I mean, he will be MVP until a new one is crowned. So going into this season as the reigning MVP, Joell Embiid, coming off a fantastic individual season of 33 points per game, 54% shooting from the field, 10.2 rebounds, and 4.2 assists. Joell Embiid, as we all know, plays both ends of the floor, one of the best defensive players we have in the league, can guard multiple positions, and can score in a variety of different ways. Joell Embiid is one of those bigs that has a unique skill. This is becoming more prevalent in this league. But he can shoot in isolation. He can put his back to the basket, score in the post, high post, fade away, can shoot the spot up 3 ball, can face up dribble, get to the cup, go into a move, has pretty damn good footwork, is pretty good with both hands. But one thing that I think hurts Joell Embiid is his tendencies where he likes to fall in love with the jump shot a little bit too much for me at times. If it's falling, okay, I get it, but if it ain't falling, get your big butt down in the paint and dominate, because you're clearly the biggest guy on the floor, and you should be dominating in the paint more frequently than you are trying to shoot jump shots or whatever the case may be. But even with that being said, Joell Embiid is still one of the best players in the league. I'm not as high as him on him as some people are. He definitely is one of those guys where come playoff time, he seems to be a lesser version of himself than what we've seen in the regular season, which is something that's, every year I feel like people are talking about Joel Embiid and watch out for the 76ers in the playoffs. I was like, well, every year these guys flame out in the playoffs, and I have never been high on Embiid or the Philadelphia 76ers because I just know it's like a broken record with these guys come playoff time. And Joel Embiid has some culpability in that. Joel Embiid has had some playoff duds, man. Some playoff duds. He has. But, like I said, for a 7-footer, the guy's immensely skilled. He really is. I would just like to see him play to his strengths more instead of falling in these pit holes and these traps on falling in love with the perimeter game when he doesn't need to. Joel Embiid is a big that, if he does start dominating in the paint and you can't do nothing with him, you can't really sit here and foul the guy because he's a pretty damn good free throw shooter as well. I believe, I don't have the stats up, but I believe he shoots somewhere in the 80 percentile in free throws, if I'm not mistaken. So he'll likely be cash at the charity stripe. I think Joel Embiid needs to take another step forward in the leadership position. I think he's definitely gotten better, but I think he needs to be a bit more vocal, especially if players aren't getting him the ball. He needs to demand the ball. He is the best player on the team, and there should not be games where the ball isn't touching his hand almost every possession where he can make some kind of a decision. But you got to speak up and put these guys in their place and remind them, in case they've forgotten, who the best damn player on the floor is and who needs to be touching the ball, especially during certain points of the game. He has to become vocal with that. He's vocal about everything else. He can troll people all day and do all this other stuff, but when you need to be vocal on the goddamn basketball court, you don't do it all the time. So step into that leadership position, hold people accountable, hold yourself accountable, and get the job done. And then maybe, Joel Embiid, I could put you somewhere in the top 3. All right? Coming in at number 4, I got the boy, Luka Doncic, Luka Magic. Luka coming off another fantastic statistical season. That's going to be Luka Doncic for the rest of his career. 32.4 points per game on 49% shooting, 8.6 rebounds, and 8 assists. One of these days, we might see Luka Doncic average a triple-double. I think it'll be hard for him to get to 10 rebounds, but with some assertive efforts, it's possible. But I expect his assist numbers to go down with Kyrie Irving on the floor now, starting out the season. Luka Doncic should not be carrying as much of a offensive load now with Kyrie Irving, but we'll see what happens. Luka will always have the numbers to be in the MVP conversation, but he's going to need the team success and the team wins to pair along with his individual numbers so he can get the MVP nod. Now, his numbers, I believe, will take a dip with Kyrie Irving, but if the team plays better, then that can catapult him into the MVP discussions. He's a LeBron James player. He basically plays like LeBron James, like prime James Harden, like prime Russell Westbrook. These guys, the ball is in his hands at all times. He makes a decision. He makes the pass. He's looking for the pass. He's looking to shoot. So his assist numbers are going to be high. His usage rate's going to be high. And he's going to hold on to the ball. He's one of those guys that doesn't do a whole lot when the ball's not in his hand. I'm really not a big fan of players like that, even though I love Luka Doncic and I love his game. I love watching him play. But I would like to see him have more off-ball movement and impact the game even when the ball's not in his hands, not just standing around looking when he's not involved. But that's something that him and Kyrie Irving are going to have to work on, and coaching staff, and try to get better with. Kyrie has shown that he can play off the ball, but we haven't really seen that from Luka Doncic because he's really never been catapulted into that position yet. But we'll see how it goes. Luka's going to dominate. Luka's going to score at will. But I would like to see Luka Doncic apply himself defensively. Now, I don't want to hear anything about him being unathletic this, that, and the third. Athleticism has something to do with the defense, but it's not everything. There's a whole lot here. Effort, energy, and smarts. All right? Understanding offensive schemes. Doing your film study. All right? Taking calculated gambles. Predicting, understanding behaviors and patterns. This can work magic for you defensively. It really can. If he can shuffle his feet good enough, he can be a quality and solid defensive player. I'm not saying he's going to be a lockdown guy, but much better than what we're used to seeing. Many times people are fishing out Luka Doncic in the same way they fish out Steph Curry to get the switch off so that they can burn Luka. But I cannot put Luka in a top 3 spot until I get a little bit something more for him defensively. Now, if his offense just becomes so ridiculously overwhelming and, you know, like if your offense is just that impactful, where I can be like, oh, I'm overloaded on offense, but that's compensating for some of his defensive woes, then maybe. But I can't put Luka in the top 3 now. I can't. As much as I want to, I would have to give the nod to some players that can match his offensive output, but are clearly better defenders than he is. But with that being said, well, you're probably saying, well, how the hell you got him ahead of Joel Embiid? Because I feel like Luka Doncic is a more consistent and impactful player when he's on the floor than Joel Embiid is. Even with Embiid's defensive abilities, Luka can just take over games and control momentum in a way that Joel Embiid can't do, or at least I haven't seen it consistently from him throughout the long tenure of an NBA season, at least up to Luka Doncic's level, in my opinion. But I understand people that will put Joel Embiid ahead of Luka. I do. I get it. But the eye test tells me Luka's better than Joel Embiid. All right, coming in at number 3, I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this. If you made it this far, if you haven't got too disgusted at my rankings and my reasonings, here we are. Kevin Durant at number 3. Most people have KD somewhere between, seems like 6 and 9 or 5 and 9, but I've seen him outside of most people's top 5. But I can't do that. Kevin Durant is balls to the wall incredible. All right. I got KD firmly at number 3. KD is coming off a 29 point per game season, shooting 56% from the field, grabbing 6.7 rebounds and dishing out 5 assists. Last season, Kevin Durant was the only player ever in the history of the league to log a 55-40-90, not 50-40-90, 55+% from the field on jumpers mainly. 40% from 3, 90% from the charity stripe. This dude was killing it in the mid-range all last season. It was like a guaranteed bucket off jumpers. Kevin Durant is much of the same guy. He's gotten more efficient, but what we've seen from KD in the past, he can score anywhere on the floor. He is unstoppable in his 7-foot frame, can put the ball on the floor, can get to the cup, can finish at the rim. Extremely the definition of unselfish. He doesn't monopolize the ball. He's not going to have big assist numbers every game because that's not how he plays. He doesn't like to monopolize the ball. He likes to fit inside of the system, inside the confines of the team. And he knows that he can get his 30 points on the most minimal amount of field goals for a perimeter player. And he's satisfied with that while letting other people get off and building their confidence and ensuring that they feel involved on the offensive end too. That's how Kevin Durant plays. I've seen when Kevin Durant had to shoulder the load and play a more Luka Doncic, LeBron-esque style of basketball, I've seen him put up the gaudy numbers. I've seen him do the 35-40, 9-10 assists, 9-10 rebounds. I've seen him do it, so I know he can do it. But that's not his game. And I think the teams appreciate that, and a lot of people like playing with Kevin Durant for that reason. I think one reason why KD has fallen in many people's lists and he's somewhere, like I said, in that 5 to 6 or 6 to 9 range or whatever, is because of the last couple seasons he has been a bit injury prone and riddled with injuries, hampered. So I think that's why people have pushed him back. But and some of those injuries, like, I mean, what you gonna do? You tore your Achilles, and then the unfortunate, I think there were, what were they, like foot or knee injuries, the one Tuesday that he had in Brooklyn, in back-to-back seasons, generally around the same time, in that January time frame. But when the guy's on the floor, most nights, like 99% of the time, he's the best player on the floor. And we should all be lucky that Kevin Durant isn't the relentless and, for lack of a better word, I guess shameless. I don't know, but he's not wired like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, where he's like, I am going to just smoke you for buckets until you submit. That's not his mindset going into every game. Because if that was Kevin Durant's mindset, with his accuracy and efficiency and range and height, Kevin Durant could average over 40 points per game if he was wired like a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant. But he is not wired that way. That is not his style of play, and that's outside of his comfort zone. Kevin Durant doesn't get enough praise for his playmaking ability. He's a pretty damn good playmaker, and he has fallen off a little bit defensively, not a whole lot. I think the injuries have something to do with that, and he's starting to get up there in age, but he's still a solid defender, and his frame helps with all the small ball lineups going on. Because remember, before he got traded to Brooklyn, I think he was one of the leaders in the NBA in shot blocking. Him and Nick Claxton, they're both teammates if I'm not mistaken. That's just shot blocking though, but he can switch off and guard. He can definitely guard the 3, the 4, and the 5, and the occasional 2 guard, but the point guards are just too fast for him. He doesn't have the foot speed and the change of direction to keep up with a lot of the small point guards. But yeah. But Kevin Durant's biggest thing is that he's going to have to stay a little bit healthier. It's been unfortunate for him, but he's going to need to stay healthy. There's usually just one type of injury, seems like, each of the last seasons that's put him out for a couple of weeks. And he was doing good, the team was doing good, and then they plummet the minute he leaves. The guy's a difference maker. He really is. I would like to see Kevin Durant assert himself more. I think at times he's just too submissive, at least for my liking. And I was giving him credit for it, but at the same time, I think there are times and levels where you just got to be like, listen, I'm the best guy on the team, and we should be playing through me most of the time. This is a flaw. It's one of those things. It's like, it's a good thing, but it can be a bad thing too if he doubles down on that mindset too much. Devin Booker is not nearly as good as Kevin Durant. That's not even up for debate. But I know KD is going to try to push D Booker into his leadership role, which maybe he should. But don't forget who the best player on the team is. All right? It's Kevin Durant. It's not Devin Booker at all. All right, number 1 and 2. I went back and forth with this. I back and forth. So number 2, I got the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo. 31.1 points per game, 55% from the field, 11.8 rebound, 5.7 assists. Giannis Antetokounmpo is currently my favorite player in the NBA. Post Kobe Bryant, I pretty much latched on to Giannis as my favorite, but I really struggled. I didn't know. Obviously, you know who number 1 is, right? Number 1's Joker, but we'll get to him. But the big thing was, well, Giannis is clearly the better defender, but Nikola Jokic is clearly the better playmaker. So which one is generally more impactful on a game-to-game basis? Is it Giannis' defense, or is it Nikola Jokic's playmaking? And I thought it was Joker's playmaking. And it was tough And then you also, the guy is coming off probably the guy that should have been the MVP and the guy that just won the championship and the finals MVP. That was enough for me to be like, all right, I'll give it to Joker. But you can't go wrong either way. But yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo. We're gonna see how he plays with Damian Lillard. Giannis has never played with a player as great as Damian Lillard. He's never played with a scorer like that. He's never played with a player that is gonna get shots up like Dame Time on a consistent basis. And he's never played with a player that can, score consistently in the clutch like Damian Lillard. I think Dame is going to help him a lot, and I think Giannis is going to help Dame a lot. So I think they're a match made in heaven. But I expect to see more of the same stuff from Giannis Antetokounmpo that we've been seeing over the last couple seasons. Highly efficient inside the paint. I think it'll be easier for him to score now with Damian Lillard on the floor and his ability to stretch the floor and the attention that gravitates towards Dame, especially when the ball's in his hand. I expect to see Giannis Antetokounmpo come off ball more, play more off ball. Let Dame take more of those ball handling responsibilities, and Giannis can now find spots if he doesn't have spots already. I feel like he doesn't, not on a consistent basis. Areas where he feels absolutely comfortable, where you could dump the ball into him, he can lobby for position and go into a quick move, a quick decisive move, and make a decision. I feel like that's something that Giannis Antetokounmpo needs to get better at. He has gotten better with that over the years, but he's still far away from being efficient in that aspect, in my opinion. This is my favorite player in the league. But with all that being said, the guy is still generally unstoppable, long frame, hyper athletic, pretty high basketball IQ. He just has to work on a couple little things here and there to refine his skills to really take his game to the next level. Not in a sense where it'll necessarily show in statistics. This is what I always say, numbers on everything. But if you watch the game, you can see, well, his numbers aren't clearly as good. But if you watch this game, this is a better version of Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is the best version of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Look how he has improved his footwork. Look at how he's moving around without the basketball. Look how he's taking advantage of the defense by putting himself where he needs to be and going to work. Look at how he's affecting the zones. Giannis Antetokounmpo puts in a lot of hard work. I know he's been working on his jump shot the last 2 years a lot, and it has gotten better. It has gotten better, but he will never, ever, ever be a good jump shooter. I don't care how much practice. It's just, I look at his form, it's just not there. So he's gotten better, but he will never be a threat or a reliable jump shooter in any capacity. The shot's ugly. Some players have an ugly shot, but it goes in all the time. Giannis Antetokounmpo just got an ugly shot, and it does not go in all the time. There are still games where he's shooting air balls from the mid-range, from the three-point, and from the charity stripe. He's still shooting air balls. Like that has not went away. As I always say, it's good to work on these things, as you should work on these things. Sometimes it's just not in the card for some players. But as long as he continues to primarily play to his strengths, he will be okay. Dominate the paint, get teams in foul trouble, exert your dominance, exert your will on the basketball game, play to your strengths, and continue to work on your weaknesses. So when you are in positions where you have to operate in those zones where you're not as comfortable, you have the reps to be able to give yourself a chance to make the play. Giannis Antetokounmpo still, with all that being said, that unstoppable and still my number 2 and arguably best player in the league. That says a lot. As I already mentioned, number 1 is Nikola Jokic. 24.5 points per game, 63% from the field, 11.8 rebounds, 9.8 assists. I mean, the numbers jump off the charts, man. And listen, what more can I say about Joker? What really? That at one point in the season, he was averaging a triple-double until his assist numbers started tailing off the last, I guess, few months or few weeks of the season. But he was at triple-double average for a small chunk of that season. But, yeah, I had to go with Joker number 1. After what we've seen in the playoffs, his impact offensively Actually, he's made strides defensively too. He's not a liability like Luka is. He's not a liability like Steph Curry is, or even Damian Lillard too. But I think he's better than all those guys defensively. But his impact on offense is just so overwhelming. And it's not just about the numbers, it's about the effect he has on the team and the impact he has on the team. Everybody thrives when the ball goes through him. He's getting the high assist numbers, but he's not fishing for the assist. He's not fishing for the assist. He's just making the best basketball play. It doesn't always end up with him making the assist, but he usually makes the right decision. He is the hub. He is the nucleus. Even though the ball goes through him, the hub, he doesn't monopolize the ball. He's a quick decision maker. He does not disrupt the offense. Okay, that's what these other guys do that he doesn't. He does not. He gets the ball, he scans, he assesses the situation, he goes to work, and he makes the right play. Even if it's the pass to the other pass that gets the assist. Extremely cerebral player, extremely high basketball IQ is Nikola Jokic. And now he out here just shooting with ease, mid-range and three-point buckets off one leg, fadeaway, handed. It don't even matter. This dude out here shooting like that now. And got the low post game. I think Nikola Jokic, as you heard me mention about some of these other players in the rankings, is that they tend to not always play to their strengths and don't really find a balance between dominating in the paint like you should be and then, playing the perimeter game. I think Joker perfectly finds that balance between dominating in the paint and being a perimeter player as a big man. He understands it more than anybody. He gets it. There's never been a game where I'm like, stop shooting to me, stop shooting, stop selling for these jump shots. It's like he just always just does the right thing. He really does. He really does. And he doesn't have a lot of holes in his game, man. He's like the center. He's like the big man Larry Bird. You're not going to find a whole lot of gaps in his game, a whole lot of holes that you can really critique. He just makes a lot of great decisions all the time. And he puts on his boots and he goes to work. He doesn't care about awards. He doesn't care about state. He doesn't care about any of that. He could give two shits. I love that about him. I really do. And let the game speak for itself. And it has. And it does. And I'm sure we'll continue to. There's my top 10. Joker, Giannis, KD, Luka, Embiid, Curry, Tatum, LeBron, Lillard, and Kawhi Leonard. Now, players that can possibly break the top 10 mold this season with a potential great season, we'll see. Couple. I hate this guy, Anthony Davis, but if this guy can just stay consistently aggressive and tap into some type of alpha mentality and take the reins, I'm not even getting into the injuries. Like I said, I'm not even getting to the injuries. I'm giving these guys a good bit of health for the most part, and I know the players are generally more injury prone. But I'm not talking about the injuries. I'm just talking about be great consistently. Sometimes he looks like a role player. Sometimes he looks like an all-star. But you got to flip a coin with this guy. You really do. And when he's not engaged, he mentally takes himself out the game. Zion Williamson is another guy. He has the potential to break the top 10 mold. Again, is this guy going to play? Now, I don't talk about the injuries. I'm talking about his mental state now. Or after that stuff you said last season, I don't even know. Well, he's playing in the preseason right now, but we'll see. But when Zion is on top of his game, he is 8 times out of 10 the best player on the floor, and he's completely unstoppable. This might come as a surprise that I would say this, but Victor Wembanyama, Wemby, I completely expect him to get Rookie of the Year. But what I've seen in preseason, he's already looking like one of the more special players in the league, period, let alone being a rookie. And I would say it is not out the realm of believability to consider that it's a possibility that Wembanyama could maybe break the top 10 mold after the small sample size. And like I said, it is a small sample size, but once you see something that you know is guaranteed, you know. And from watching Wemby in the preseason, I know this guy's going to be great. He's already doing things that we've never seen before, and he's raw. He's raw. He has a lot to learn, and that's the scary part. But I'm just throwing it out there. It's possible. It's possible. Unlikely, maybe, but possible. Some other guys, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, coming off a great season. Some people already have Shai in their top 10. I'm not ready to put him there yet. I'm not ready to put Shai ahead of Damian Lillard. Nope, not yet, but great player, and is leading that OKC team right. Ja Morant, a lot of backlash going on with Ja right now, as we all know. Not even going to get into it. He's going to be serving a pretty hefty suspension starting out the season, but there's no mistake about it. When Ja Morant is playing on top of his game, he is dynamic, he's explosive, he's great. But here's the thing. He's going to have to get his shit together. He's going to play. He's going to have to play. He's going to have to play well for him to fall back in the good graces of the NBA community. So he has potential. De'Aaron Fox has potential, much like Shai. Tyrese Halliburton, same, like Fox and Shai. I look at Halliburton, I look at Fox, and I look at Shai. I was like, these guys could be the future of the league moving forward, especially at their positions. But we'll see if they can break the top 10 mold. They're gonna win games. They're going to be on highlight reels. They're going to have some pretty good numbers, but we'll see how it all impacts everything. And if they can take that next step and then see what the other players do in my top 10 anyway, to see if they can push any of these guys out. It's possible. I could see him leapfrogging Kawhi, Dame, LeBron, or even Jayson Tatum. I could definitely see those guys usurping them. It's possible. Anthony Edwards is another guy that has potential to break that mold. But we'll see. All right. Appreciate you guys for stopping in. I know I had some egregious picks on there. I know you guys disagree with some of those. But let me know in the comment section who you disagree with. Where would you put that player? Does he belong in the top 10? Should he be higher? Should he be lower? Give me your reasoning why. I would love to hear your opinion. This is all subjective. But this is just the way my kooky basketball brain works. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. But yeah, let me know what you think about it. Drop me your top 10 if you want to as well. Appreciate you guys for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and I will catch you on the next one. We out, baby.